Welcome everybody to Dharma Talks with Sujato and myself, Marshall. This is a program of Dharma Outreach, a project by Tiffany's Recovery Incorporated, nonprofit. And these episodes will be aired on Try TV. Let me introduce Sujato, Bhikkhu, monk extraordinaire.
Thank you, Marshall. Right, I'm probably going to take far too long to just introduce myself on this, what will hopefully be the first in a series of programs from Dharma Outreach. So, my name's Sujato Bhikkhu, or Graham if you prefer, which is my given name. And I have been a Theravada Buddhist monk for nearly 10 years now. This will be my 10th Vassa starting in July. I spent 11 years in total living in Thailand. And I guess it's relevant to actually explain how I came to be in Thailand. So I basically went to Thailand not on some Buddhist pilgrimage or on a search for any kind of awakening. I actually went there to stay alive and out of jail and off of the crack pipe. So atypical, I guess, for certainly for a Buddhist monk. I kind of guess I went from crack houses to monasteries, but not in one step. So I actually had no intention of becoming any kind of monastic. And let's cut some of it out so I don't spend too long for you. But I ended up following a broadly shamanic, a Thai shamanic path, and then I was invited to go and stay at a temple, a forest temple that I'd been visiting for a while. And I accepted that invitation, and the Ajahn there asked me if I would ordain, and I said no thank you, it's for Thai people. And he asked me again if I would ordain, and I said no thank you, it's for Thai people. And the third time he asked me, I was kind of feeling a bit ungrateful. So I agreed, and it was going to be for 3 months, the 3 months of the Rains Retreat from July to October. And I guess I never left. And when I say that, I mean obviously I've left Thailand, but I never actually disrobed. So I spent the first 4 years there, where the only time I really left the temple or the grounds there, which was in National Park in the forest, was to either go to immigration or to the hospital. And that 4 years were very beneficial. That 4 years of solitude, if you like, was very beneficial to what is over a 30-year meditation practice, although a lot of it during my not sober time, shall we say. So after the 4 years, I started to become concerned about what I could give back. And so I started travelling to Bangkok and to Chiang Mai in particular, and I got involved with refuge recovery in Chiang Mai. And it still really wasn't enough for me. I didn't feel that the traditional Theravada establishment was as open as it could be to helping folks, certainly from a recovery point of view, but also from a general point of view of what I'm going to call disadvantaged populations. So folks struggling with substance abuse, housing insecurity, incarceration issues, etc., etc. What did I do about it? Well, I didn't actually do a great deal about it other than a little bit of work online and as I say, working with refugee recovery in Chiang Mai. After 5 years, my preceptor Mahjong came to me, as they do with Theravada, within Theravada Buddhism, and said that they considered me to be a stage when I should be released from dependence. In other words, really when a Theravada monk's released from dependence, they're saying you should be going out and doing your bit to spread, to be available to spread the teachings. Although I don't think they ever envisaged me being available to the communities that I intended to be available to. So I was released from dependence, basically became a free agent, still had my room, no one turfs you out of the temple, but became a bit of an issue for me because I had to find my own immigration fees and things like that. So I carried on doing what I could, and it became more and more of an issue to me, the whole service issue. And this culminated in a very good friend of mine arranging fundraising and basically arranging for me to go from Thailand to Chicago. So after 11 years in Thailand, I arrived in Chicago in November of 2019 without a coat or shoes or much else. And was met at the airport with a coat and shoes, which was marvellous. And the intention was that I would be mobile in Chicago, have some kind of mobile living facility, but this didn't happen because 2 weeks before I left Thailand, I lost the sight in my left eye due to a minor stroke. So things didn't go quite to plan. Again, we'll cut out some of the story. I ended up becoming associated with a Thai organisation, which I had no intention of doing, in Chicago, and ended up being given a meditation centre to run in Niles in Michigan, and told to do what I wanted with it. One of my goals for there was that it would become if not a recovery centre, certainly a recovery-friendly centre. This was met with some opposition, which just bears out my thoughts on the Theravada establishment, to be honest with you, but there's no need for us to go into that. Then COVID struck, and I was basically stuck there for 2 years. And with much thanks and gratitude to an awful lot of people, but especially to Marshall, I've finally landed in Massachusetts and found myself lucky enough to be involved, well, I guess heavily involved with the Dharma Outreach project, which I'm pretty passionate about, and which well, I'm incredibly passionate about. This is my last hurrah, folks, if you like. This is my wanting to give back to where I came from. Although I was in the UK, but I came from the streets, and my mission is to give back to the streets. So for anyone that's watching that's expecting a typical Theravada monastic, I don't apologise, but I don't apologise at all. Actually, there are plenty of them out there but it's just not me. So I'm finally on the ground, and it's tough working in an area I want to, that has been something I've been trying to do for a few years now. So I think that's quite enough about me, and I'm going to shut up. Hopefully this will be a series of programs, and I wanted to get that in just so that we can refer back to the first program, so that there's no one's under any misapprehension of who I am or what I am. So with that, I'll pass you over to Marshall.
Thank you, Sujato. So I've been watching Sujato for a few years. Let's just say ever since I was released from prison. I spent 11 years in federal prison for drug crimes. In the first portion of my life, starting from a young age, about 12 or 13, I struggled with drug addiction and some family issues as well. Everything kind of like mixing in together to create a lot of problems for me. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I experienced a lot of trauma. My sister passed away when she was 18 from drugs. And my whole life just revolved around substance use. It was how I dealt with my problems. It's how I experienced pleasure, happiness, joy. It was my God in life, which was sad. And eventually I got in trouble for my illegal behavior, and I spent 11 years in federal prison. And while I was there, I took time to work on myself. I educated myself. I read extensively on religion and philosophy, psychology, science. I started on a math degree, and then I got depressed and lonely doing math problems in my cell all day, and then I switched over to psychology, and I completed an associate's in psychology. But I read a lot about human psychology, its history, a lot of its contributors. I was fascinated with humanistic psychologies, the cognitive behavioral psychologies, conditioning, things of this nature, and it was a big part of understanding myself. And within my studies, I discovered Buddhism. And Buddhism really appealed to me because it's a spiritual practice, but a scientific practice in the lessening of suffering, the psychological, activities and aspects of suffering, so to say. So, with that understanding and that education, I'd asked myself in prison. I said, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when I get home? I could work real hard, make money, and try to enjoy myself. I'd already put drugs away out of my life. I'd made that decision. I've been in, abstinence from drugs and alcohol or recovery for over 8 years now. And then the idea of just trying to make money really didn't appeal to me. And then I thought of the idea of maybe trying to assist society and some of the issues people face with the substance use disorders and the mental health and things like I experienced. I also suffer from ADHD, probably a more severe version. And I found Sujato on Facebook when I got out of prison, and I was fascinated with his mission. And we kind of stayed in contact over the years, and fate brought us together, and here we are working on this Dharma outreach project, a project that came to my mind while I was doing outreach out in Boston, over near Mass Ave, where a lot of people that struggle with substance use disorder, homelessness, and some mental health stuff kind of congregate. And I was walking around, and I was seeing different people doing outreach out there. Some Christian folks. I saw regular, medical people doing some outreach and stuff. I saw no Buddhists doing outreach, and I looked into it, and then I realized there really wasn't a lot of Buddhists doing outreach. And myself being a Buddhist, it was concerning. And then that was kind of the beginning, me knowing what Sujato was doing and understanding that there was a lack of, Buddhist outreach to help people that are suffering. The core, kind of like the core of Buddhism is to help people lessen the stress or suffering in life. Kind of was the inception of the Dharma Outreach Project. And I was in the process of creating a nonprofit at the time, so we created this project through the nonprofit to teach people some of the healing techniques of Buddhism, of mindfulness meditation, ethical conduct practices. The precepts really focus on making our lives better. They say karma this, karma that. There's a lot of different wide-ranging definitions, but in Buddhism it's cause and effect, and understanding how we can improve our lives by making certain choices, or we can cause damage or harm to our lives. So the goal was to share this with people and teach them how to use these techniques to improve their minds and lives. Another thing I realized is I work in addictions. I'm an addiction counselor, and a lot of the religious outreach people in the streets didn't seem like they had any kind of official training or understanding of addictions and how an addictions field worker works. And I had asked one agency if they'd be interested if I came in and would teach some of the practices, and they seemed uninterested in that. So that's something that I bring to the table. Is I work with people that struggle with substance use disorder. There's a lot of techniques and therapeutic practices that come into that. So bringing that into what we're doing is very important. And not only having lived experience, Sujato and I, of being in the streets and experiencing addiction in its some of its worstest form personally, but being able to bring some professional insights to the issue. But we're really here to talk about Dharma outreach and do a Dharma talk. And I can say, the last thing I'm going to say is how important Buddhism is in my life. I took time to memorize the precepts, which I keep. Is I endeavor to abstain from the taking or harming of life. I endeavor to abstain from taking that which is not given. I endeavor to abstain from sexual misconduct. I endeavor to abstain from telling falsehoods or lying. I endeavor to abstain from the use of intoxicants. And this has been real powerful in my recovery. And I dug into this when I read about it in the old Pali canons. So I myself, I'm more of a Theravadan, which just translates to the old school or the school of the elders in Buddhism. And knowing this, I understand how important helping others is to, a good Buddhist practice, loving kindness, metta they call that, or compassion. I think the word is karuna, I believe. Probably mispronounced it. In understanding the core principles of Buddhism, which is real simple, is the Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, which is all life is suffering. Suffering has causes, which is greed, which is trying to bring things into oneself, aversion, push things away from oneself. I don't want that. And then delusion, which is understanding that life just happens. And that's the second. And then the third is there's liberation or freedom from suffering, and then there's a path leading to that. And we'll get into all that stuff later on down the road. I've always been big on like the doctrine of Buddhism, so to say. It's something I'm fascinated with, and it gets pretty deep and philosophical, but it's also very simple and practical, and that's what we're going to really kind of hinge on here. And I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Graham Sujato Bhikkhu.
Thank you. Okay, so a little bit about the project itself, and the first thing I want to say from a personal point of view is although we're obviously focused on Buddhist practice and the acquiring certain tools that just might make life a little bit more bearable for folks, to be honest with you. For me, this is not a religious mission. Strange as it might seem, I've never considered myself to be religious at all, which might sound strange. You'll have to either come to understand that or not as time goes on. So the Dharma Outreach Project is really about empowering folks with the possibility of the use of these Buddhist-based tools rather than enabling folks in any way. So people have to put some self-effort into this to get anything out of it. But we found that these teachings, these tools, and I prefer to use the term tools myself, but although they are available to everyone, certainly in this day and age, because most people have access to the internet, etc. So technically they're available to everyone, but not everyone realises this availability, if that makes any sense. And I'm trying to be diplomatic, which I'm not very good at. And in the West, these teachings have been not so readily available, shall we say, at street level. So that has kind of always been my mission, and this is where it fits into the mission of Dharma Outreach, that we make this that we make these tools, these teachings available. Now, to that end, we've already made I don't know, I can't even remember how long I've been in Massachusetts now. I think it must probably be 5 weeks at least, maybe coming up for 6. We've made huge. I think we've made huge inroads into actually getting started on this, thanks to especially to Marshall, but to a lot of others. We have a regular speaking arrangement set up at a day centre in the middle of Boston. We have visited various shelters and also recovery centres and attended various meetings. So what I'm saying is we're actually getting out there and doing it. And that is really what the project is all about, is making these tools available. And no one's trying to convert anyone from any kind of belief system they've got. It really is just making the tools available. And of course, if you choose, the choice is yours as to whether you choose to use the tools or not. So we have a website which we would very much like you to have a look at, and I'm not good with remembering the addresses of these things, but I'm pretty sure it's www.dharmaoutreach.com.
Yeah, dharmaoutreach.com.
Right,
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's that simple.
Okay. So we have a website. Be delighted if you take a look at that. There's a members section. You can sign up there. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to sell you car warranties, health insurance, anything like that. You just sign up for free, and we'll keep you informed as to how the progress of the project. We have a Facebook page, Dharma Outreach again. So we're getting out there. I would kind of, I'd encourage you to take a look and see a bit more about what is actually going on.
So Sujato, since you've been out here doing this work, and you've been out in the street, you've been out on the Mass Ave, like tell us a little bit about like what you've experienced and what you've seen. Like, what does the problem look like?
I think that the problem is obviously huge, but it's it's the problem is multifaceted as well. I've had some very positive reactions from people actually, and I'm talking about, when I talk about people on the street, I'm talking about people, you know, outside the engagement centre. You know, this is not a, it's certainly not a tourist spot, it's not somewhere you'd go and visit. This is serious. This is about literally people are losing their lives day after day after day. I've had very positive responses, and I have to say, so far I've not had any directly negative responses. People are wary of any kind of establishment, and this is why I go out my way to not try and represent any kind of establishment. I'm only there to try and, you know, if all I can do is say hello, how you doing, I hope you have a nice day, that's fine. It's just personal contact. But so that's been tough. There has been some kind of, you know, a little bit of adverse reaction to what people don't understand. But as people are understanding more and more, I think, you know, things will pick up from there. But it's generally been positive. It's genuinely been a positive reaction, and it's something you have to keep at, and you build a relationship with that community, you know. And when they find out you're not after anything, you're not trying to get them to convert to anything. You're not after anything other than, you know, maybe providing them with these tools that could help with their life.
So tell us a little bit about like what's useful in Buddhism, like the tools that are available, and how that could help people with, you know, substance use disorder, struggling from homelessness and mental health and things like that. How does that help? How is it useful?
Right. Well, it's helpful in so many ways that probably I'll tell you briefly, but probably that would be a good subject for our next program actually. But Marshall's already mentioned the teachings on the basic precepts. That's obviously can be a huge help to someone, because we're not saying, and Buddhism doesn't say you must not do this. It says it'd be a good idea if you didn't do this, or you did do that. And here's the reason why. But it doesn't say that, you know, that this is or that's going to happen to you if you do. So the big one, and I think Marshall's already mentioned it. The big one for me is that's been of the biggest benefit for me has been the non-use of intoxicants. And because when you look further into it, and I'm sure it's the same for other people, but when I look further into it myself, the times in my life where I was certainly heavily, using it anyway, but certainly heavily using any kind of intoxicant, they were the times I had the biggest problems in my life. It just kind of proves that very small Buddhist teaching. And there's many of them. But I am aware of the time, so I think maybe to go into it further will be better will be a good starting point for our next program. But let me just say first of all, before I finish, that the other benefit is from building some kind of meditation practice, even if it is just a practice to just slow down for 10 minutes. And that can be a huge benefit to people, as we've seen with the huge upturn in the mindfulness industry, if you like. Mindfulness isn't something that you have to buy. You've already got it. Someone just needs to show you how to use it, and that's one of the things that we're doing. But I'm going to be quiet now because I'm very aware of the fact that I'm talking a lot and our time is is going on.
That was great. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Dharma Talks. This is going to be the Dharma Outreach YouTube channel by Tiffany's Recovery Incorporated. You can find it on YouTube. Try TV, and we're going to continue bringing more of these episodes to you and teaching you about mindfulness and Buddhist practice and how it can improve your life and how it doesn't really conflict with anything else. It stands alone as a simple spiritual practice to enhance your life and make life easier and enhance your mind. So thank you so much for joining us today.